Hello and welcome to Highlands Thinking. I'm joined today by Jim Mann, Global Head of Partnerships for Three Colts, and Tarek Benson, Head of E-commerce for Highlands Europe. Now, if you're a brand with a vendor-central relationship with Amazon, you'll understand some of the complexities involved in keeping on top of the fees within your agreement. Can be really quite a drain. So Jim, just starting off with yourself, that there can be an incredible number of moving parts for a brand's relationship with Amazon Vendor Central. What are the sorts of things they might be included and they need to be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of this is great, isn't it? Because I think a lot of brands are just coming through or finalizing their vendor negotiations for the year. And something we're hearing consistently is that, the language partners used a lot, but it doesn't feel like a partnership when you're being hammered increasingly to take on more costs or accept less margin. And so, what we're seeing is that the co-ops, and the various fees that are being pushed into brands are increasingly aggressive. And you've probably seen this as well. There's a lot of vendors are being pushed off the platform. If you're not doing 10 million plus now, it's hard to maintain your account. And so they're being pushed into hybrid or onto FBA, which is something we saw a lot of last year. And I think the number was 30,000 vendor accounts being pushed off the platform. Mm-hmm. So I suspect that some of the people on this call have probably seen that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for that. And Tarek, moving to yourself from an agency perspective, primarily you're focused on the sales funnel. Of course, you're supporting the account management functions too, but from your experience, do you see these administrative tasks getting in the way of the brand selling more product?
Yes, it does get in the way and it affects the overall margin as well. And especially, as Jim mentioned, with the co-op charges that comes in with vendor, sometimes you have the shortage claims, you have the chargeback, all those. It's like when you sell on vendor, you're getting hammered left, right, and centers with different fees from all over the place, and you don't even know what to do. And most brands tap into us agencies to help with that. And with most of the brands that we work with as well, this is not part of our statement of work. So that's why we tap into Three Colts and what Jim and his fantastic team does to help us to navigate through things like this and to battle vendor, to be honest, just to make sure that we're not getting those charges. A typical example was a client of mine at some point last year. They got like a bulk purchase order. They decided not to accept it, rejected it. Before you see, there's a shortage claim of about over $3,000 for them to pay. All of a sudden, it's like, what is this for? Penalty for not accepting a bulk purchase order? So there are things like these that vendors can hammer you from left, right, and center. It also comes in the way of us focusing on driving sales and driving revenue for you. So this is why we like Three Colts, because they can act like a safety net, even though you might have a financial team that is looking into all this chargeback and all this data. It's a massive sum of data that one man can handle. That's why you need a team like Three Colts to help look into that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point, Tarek. And Jim, you mentioned the complexities of the day-to-day management and the margin erosion and program negotiations and so forth. So just from a Three Colts perspective, what are the options available to those brands and how can you help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point of margin and the fight now to negotiate better terms, it puts a lot of pressure on cash flow margin. And so to some degree, recovery is the antidote to this margin compression. We work with finance teams, we work with brand teams, and typically some finance teams will look at shortage claims. They'll file for some stuff themselves. Sometimes we'll be a second line of defense. And so we'll audit every transaction coming through Vendor Central. And when we see that there's a valid claim that hasn't been picked up by the team, will file. Usually what happens over time is that teams miss a lot. And even when they find the discrepancy, they don't file the information in a way that Amazon's getting much, much harder. Their rejection rates are much higher than they were a year or two ago. And so it's getting harder to get money out of them. We've seen success rates for shortage claims go from 70% down to 20%. We've changed our processes and now we're back up to a 50% success rate. And, we've got a dedicated team of 120 people working on this. So, the average finance team who have a hell of a lot more to worry about than just recovery are not going to get the success we get or be able to reconcile the amount of data that we reconcile using a platform that's dedicated to this. Yeah, we've recovered, I think, over $500 million for brands in the last 4 years. So this is what we do, and we try to be the best at it. It's a specialist service.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly dealing with the complexities and just the sheer volume of data is key, and having that expertise is really, really helpful for the brands, let's face it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, gents, thanks very much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. And if anyone out there has any questions about the topics we've covered, please feel free to reach out to Jim or Tarek. We really appreciate you checking out our video today. Please feel free to like or share, or watch out for more Highlands Thinking content. Gents, thanks again. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Thanks, Tarek.
Bye.